pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for coming. Call the roll, please.
Trustee Spurling.
Here.
Trustee Lee.
Yes.
Trustee Heinz. Trustee Youngerman.
Here.
Trustee Marisak. And Trustee Bond.
Here.
All right, we're all here. Moving along, public participation. This is the first item, public comments. It's the opportunity for any member of the public to address the board on any topic. Go ahead. Come down. You can come down to the podium if you can write your name down and your address and introduce yourself to us.
So the other night, I think it was last Thursday, I live in a small little U-shaped street, and we had a vehicle there outside of two of my elderly neighbors' house. I called the police department, the non-emergency number. They were sitting there lighting lighters multiple times. Told them there's a suspicious vehicle sitting outside of a residence that I knew they didn't belong in. They said they would send somebody out right away. The vehicle left at 8:22. And the officer didn't show up till 8:29. So I don't know if that should be something that, there's been a lot of break-ins in Montgomery, I know, with the vehicles. It definitely was not any of my neighbors' friends or anyone that knows. And being where my, community, my little residency is, it's right on the border of Aurora, where we've had shootings right off of Sherman with the nicer weather. And then it's not happening in Montgomery, but it's definitely a concern for me, especially, with raising a young family. And one of the reasons me and my husband bought in Montgomery was because it's a family-based neighborhood. It's safe. You should feel safe. But a lot of the Aurora headlines that are right bordering us right now, it's getting to look like Chicago headlines, especially as the weather gets nicer. They've had 3 or 4 shootings now right in that little area. So those are some things I want to address and see if we have an action plan, or should I have called the 911 number? Was that considered an emergency? I mean, a suspicious vehicle I don't consider an emergency. They weren't exiting, but I don't think it should also take 24 minutes.
What's your address?
1015 Harmony Drive.
Okay.
A couple of my neighbors. One of my friends just bought with there. So.
That's awesome.
Can you just clarify? I thought you said that you called at 8:22 and they came at 8:29.
No, I called at 8:05 in the evening. I noticed the vehicle at 8:02. I went to my car. I don't smoke in my house, so I stepped outside to have a cigarette, and I had seen them. And what caught my eye was the lighters that were lighting continuously from the front to the back. So at 8:05 is when I called the non-emergency number. I went upstairs onto the top part of my my house, and I just kind of kept peeking out to see if they were still there. They didn't pull off until 8:22, and then the officer had driven by in an SUV at 8:29.
Okay. I certainly appreciate you bringing that to our attention. I think everybody here would agree that you acted exactly appropriately. What I would probably do is have the chief and deputy chief kind of get with you on this issue, unless there's something that we can do publicly.
Or maybe you could say right now, Dan, I know my mother lives right down the street from you on Harmony, and she'd have called 911. I don't know if that's right or not.
Yeah, no, either phone, you use 911 when there's an emergency, but you did right. You called non-emergency. You get the same people.
You get the same people?
Correct.
I know when I called with the solicitor, they were there in like 5 minutes. The guy hadn't even gotten to the end of the block yet, and they were there. So
yeah, no, and I without going to look at the log to see what was going on, what night was this?
8:05, and it was Friday night. It was a Friday night.
Okay.
I thought it was Thursday, but it was Friday.
So this past Friday night?
Not this one, the one prior to that.
Okay. All right. I will look in and report back. Just off the top of my head, Friday night afternoon shift is the busiest shift we have. Sunday through Saturday. So not making excuses, but it again depends where he was or she when the call came in.
Okay.
And what they're on when they receive that call. It's based on priority. But for sure, if you see a car like that, call us.
Because it was a two-tone car. It was a giant truck, and none of my neighbors. I mean, if your mom lives off of Harmony, it's elderly and young families. I mean, there's no cross-through traffic in any way, shape, or form. You have to designated go there. It's right off of Sherman.
Sure.
So-
And your name and numbers on the list?
My name,
there?
number, and address,
Okay.
yes, sir.
We'll call you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. Yes, sir, come on down.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jerry Storatis. I'm with SCORE. I don't know if a lot of people have ever heard of SCORE. Got one person that does. We help small businesses. We're primarily located in the Fox Valley area, the 6 counties surrounding Cook County and Lake. And of course, Kendall and Kane and so forth is in our chapter size. I wanted to talk a little bit about Small Business Week. It's coming up this week. As a matter of fact, next Sunday through Saturday, April 30th to May 6th. Also, but probably more importantly, I'd like to tell you about my problem. And that problem is we'd like to service more of our actual area. We have so many members. They seem to be in the Naperville, Lisle, Wheaton, Elgin, Aurora kind of a place. What we need is more people that are retired or semi-retired, people that have had a successful career. Usually we have small businessmen. They're usually small business people or executives from other companies. In order to do that, we're able to put on a lot of programs. And the reason why I say we need more people is because in order to do more things, you need to have people willing to come out and do that. So if anybody has knowledge of someone that's kind of bored, maybe just retired, is successful, then this is the place for them. If they have good business skills, they have good common sense, we'll go through and show them how to, some of the, shall we say, more recent innovations on social media, Twitter, Facebook, will show them how to do an organizational review. In other words, how to set up a company, how to make a business plan, and all that wonderful stuff. But we need people, and I just ask you to think about us, and if I'll leave my name and my business card here, so if anybody has any one that they want to sacrifice to our organization, I appreciate getting that information for you. So we help small businesses. I think this is the time for small businesses, and I appreciate your attention. If there's any questions, I can answer them, or maybe see you later, whatever. Thanks.
Thank you, appreciate it. With that, is there any other member of the public that wishes to address the board this evening? We've already had 2, which is kind of a record, so. Thank you both for bringing those to our attention and coming this evening. We'll move on to the proclamation of Small Business Week. The proclamation, it is a very nice segue. He's actually the gentleman that submitted it to us to get it on the ballot today, or on the agenda today. So with that, a vote of sorts. I'll forego reading that, and if you guys want to entertain a motion for approval,
So moved.
Second?
call the roll, please.
Trustee Bond?
Yes.
Trustee Spurling?
Yes.
Trustee Lee?
Yes.
Trustee Heinz?
Yay.
Trustee Youngerman?
Yes.
And Trustee Marisak?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, move on to item C, which is Fire Chief Tom Myers would like to address the board regarding the TIF rebate process. Welcome, Chief.
Good evening. My name's Tom Myers. I'm the fire chief of the Montgomery and Countryside Fire Protection District. I'd just like to address the board tonight. I didn't have an opportunity to be here at the last meeting, but I'd like to thank the board for moving this TIF agreement forward. I think the productive meeting that Jeff and I had initially here worked out. We put a lot of things on the table to talk about and figure out to make improvements on how this TIF is actually executed. I appreciate all the board members for your first and initial take on this back in 2013, because without you, I would be way behind now. Currently, we're still behind from 2008 numbers. We're $60 million in assessed value behind, and we are making up some cash. We're still down about $160,000 in cash. So with that, I appreciate your continued support as we move through this new agreement. It's nice to see that we can come to an agreement, that we can put something on the table, a document to work with, and I'll keep this very short tonight. But I think we're making some headway over the last 14 months and the last month or two of the board getting involved. So thank you very much. I know you have this on a separate agenda item tonight. So with that, if there's any questions or anything that you would want me to comment on, I'd be happy to come down during that time. Over the past 2 or 3 years, as this TIF was developed, I felt like I was the only governmental agency or taxing district that was concerned about it, and it seems like I am the only one. There's a number of reasons for that. Actually, when it first began, I'm the smallest budget line item taxing district that is affected by this area. I also have the smallest square miles. I'm about 6 square miles, so from all the other taxing bodies, they're much bigger, they're much larger, and I have a lot to lose based on almost a daily service need to this area. We respond to EMS paramedic calls, fire calls, we do inspections, we work with emergency planning. There's a lot of time and effort that is put into the area that we're talking about in the TIF that utilizes our staff time. So I thank you for your understanding. If there's any questions, Denny, there's 27 buildings in the TIF district, 25 of which lie in our district. 2 of them are in the Sugar Grove portion of the fire district. So obviously the economy is getting much better. We've gained some ground since 2008, but we're not quite there yet. But with your assistance, I appreciate all your efforts, and I look forward to future meetings with Jeff Zolfel on putting this together, or with the board. If you have any questions during your session tonight, I'd be happy to answer those questions for you. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief. Anybody have any questions of the chief while he's?
Excuse me, are you going to bring this up later in the meeting?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, then I got a few things to say on that.
Okay. All right, thanks, Chief.
I'll reserve my questions for later.
All right, move on to the consent. Read the items, entertain a motion for approval. Minutes of the village board meeting of April 10th, executive session minutes of April 10th, accounts payable through April 20th, accounts receivable report for March of 2017, ordinance 1765, annexing and zoning territory at Jericho Lake Park. It's a Fox Valley Park District project. This is second reading. And ordinance 1766, granting a variance for Kaufman Truck Sales at 1149 West Lake Street. And this is the second reading. And Dale, could you turn my microphone down just a little bit? And I would entertain a motion for approval.
So move.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Trustee Heinz.
Yay.
Trustee Youngerman.
Yes.
Trustee Marisak.
Yes.
Trustee Bond.
Yes.
Trustee Spurling.
Yes.
And Trustee Lee.
Yes.
That carries 6-0. Thank you. He's probably going to turn it off. Moving on, items for separate action. The first item this evening, we have the Waterworks System Master Plan. We've discussed this several times over the last year, and I think we saw the last draft at the last meeting or last month.
March 13th.
Do we get another PowerPoint?
We can deliver one of those if you need.
No, thank you. If we can skip that, that'd be
You have
great.
Jeff on speed dial?
All right, did staff have anything to add on this?
Be happy to respond to any questions that may have come up, but we would ask that it be considered for approval tonight if you're ready.
I'm excited about it. So this has been a long while in the making. I think it shows some good cooperation with our neighboring towns to see if something like that works in the future. But first and foremost, planning for the future of Montgomery, most important thing that we can do. So
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
call the roll, please.
Trustee Spurling?
Yes.
Trustee Lee?
Yes.
Trustee Heinz? Trustee Youngerman?
Yes.
Trustee Marisak?
Yes.
And Trustee Bond.
Yes.
That carries 6-0. Thank you. Thanks, Pete. Item B this evening, we have the refuse contract discussion and award of a contract. Director Hoppenstead.
Thank you, Mr. President. I've got a few details to walk through with you, so please bear with me. I have before you tonight the details for two different refuse and recycling proposals. I'll briefly provide some highlights into both programs. Then, if you'd like, we have representatives present from either company that can help answer any questions you may have or further discussion on their proposals. In closing, I will be requesting that the board decide on a contract which they prefer. It is important that the service provider and staff have appropriate amount of time to formalize the legal contract and specific program details. At your station, I've provided the most current spreadsheet, including either proposal for Montgomery, either being one from Republic Services, our current provider, and one from DC Trash, a competing service provider. As you know, Republic Services, previously known as Allied Waste, and before that, BFI Waste, has served Montgomery since 2002. Currently, Republic offers weekly collection to 5,647 customer accounts at a cost of $19.65 per month. Their third and final proposal is before you tonight, which reduces that monthly cost to $17.70 in year one with a 3.25% increase annually. DC Trash is a competing service provider offering service for $16.47 per month in year one with a 3% increase annually. The proposal from Republic Services extends the senior bag program option for $1.70 per bag with a 3% increase annually. It's important to note that that the service costs what it costs. Therefore, senior option must spread some costs across the contract. Republic Services currently has rolling recycling cart deployed at all customer locations. They would maintain the status quo on the recycling carts while providing a 95-gallon rolling refuse cart, although customers may request a 65-gallon size prior to delivery if they prefer. DC Trash, on the other hand, would be providing both recycling and refuse carts at the onset of the contract. They offer a 95, a 65, and a 35-gallon size to select from prior to delivery. However, default sizes would likely be provided if a customer does not specify. If at any time during DC's contract, if selected, the container is not within your liking, they will exchange it. If the cart becomes damaged, they tell me that their collection driver will automatically report that back to dispatch for the resident to limit the inconvenience on the customer's behalf. Both service providers offer unlimited waste collection. However, if a customer routinely exceeds the available volume of the cart, the customer will have to rent an additional cart for $4.50 a month from Republic. DC Trash, on the other hand, would allow any container to be used as long as it does not exceed 50 pounds. It says excluding plastic and steel barrels. The village has historically offered a spring and fall cleanup. While it is only my opinion that these 2 weeks annually can reflect poorly on the appearance of the community and invite scavengers to rummage through customers' discarded items, staff does receive the highest volume of complaints related to waste collection during these 2 weeks. Republic will continue to offer this service, whereas DC Trash allows customers to discard items at their leisure. Thus, a cleanup week is less necessary and therefore may reduce on complaints and undesired traffic through the neighborhoods. If necessary, DC Trash would also provide roll-off dumpsters at select locations to accommodate any parts of the cleanup that may not be handled through the weekly collection service options. I have failed to notice any particular component of the spring or fall cleanup that would not be addressed through their weekly service. The village currently offers monthly electronic recycling event through a no-cost electronic waste hauler. Staff is concerned about the sustainability of this offering in the future, so each service provider was asked for an option to handle electronic waste. Republic Services is currently not a participant in our monthly event, nor are they offering their participation in this proposal. DC Trash, on the other hand, would facilitate an electronic collection event on an as-needed basis with a maximum frequency of once per month. The current contract allows for one free bag or bundle of yard waste per week throughout the collection season. All additional bags require a purchase sticker. Currently, those stickers are only available at Jewel, Food Market La Chiquita, and the Village Hall for $2.90. Republic Services proposal will require a sticker on each piece at a lower cost of $1.50 per sticker, with an increase of 3% annually. Sorry, I'm getting confused even reading this. They, however, are offering unlimited yard waste in the first 2 weeks and last 6 weeks of the collection cycle. While I'm grateful for that offering, I believe it's confusing. It will require an abundance of staff time to communicate with the residents. DC Trash offers a cleaner proposal of an unlimited yard waste collection all season long for an additional 35 cents per customer per month. We had previously discussed how stickers allow those utilizing the program to pay for the service. Unfortunately, to have a successful program, the truck must pass each customer on a weekly basis regardless of participation. Therefore, not all costs can be covered solely by a pay-as-you-go sticker. If you prefer the sticker option, DC Trash does offer that. I had not planned to go into much detail on that, as it doesn't seem to be as cost-effective as the included
Todd,
yard.
if I may, I have a question, and I want to get to it before
Sure.
you get too far. You said something after DC Trash, unlimited bags and bundles. There was a cost or something associated?
35 cents per month per customer would get you unlimited yard waste throughout the collection season.
Is that in addition to the 1647, or is that included?
No,
Okay.
the 1647 includes that. That's the one I put in the spreadsheet before you because I figured that was the more cost-effective. I can go through the details of their other proposal with stickers if you like, but
No,
it's not
that's
nearly
fine.
as competitive.
That's fine. Thank you.
Finally, while it's not of a benefit to all customers, both service providers do provide refuse hauling from the Montgomery Fest annually at no additional charge. DC Trash has gone one step further to include portable restrooms and hand wash stations at no additional charge for that event. If you have any questions this evening, representatives from both service providers are here tonight to help us answer those. In either case, I would include an opt-out clause for failure to perform. Otherwise, I ask that we get a vote tonight to secure one of the two contracts so we can formalize some of the legalities.
I have a question, if I may. On your spreadsheet, for refuse allotment under DC Trash, it shows a 35, 65, or 95-gallon refuse container. What would be the default size?
I don't think they've specified a default size. If it's okay with the board, I'd like to invite the appropriate contractor to the podium to more accurately answer their questions.
Sure.
Dan, that one would be for you. This is Dan Christensen of DC Trash.
Hey, good evening. Thank you guys for allowing us to be here tonight, and thanks for the opportunity to provide a proposal. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have of us.
What, okay, going back to my question, There are 3 different sizes here, a 35-gallon, a 65-gallon, and a 95-gallon refuse container. If, as a homeowner, if I don't specify a size, what would be the default size?
The largest trash can, which is a 95 gallon, and the medium-sized recycling can, which is a 65 gallon.
But we can opt for the large.
Yes, you sure can.
Okay.
There's no change in cost for doing so.
And what does that process look like?
We allow a 2-week period for everyone to call in any requests for a change of container size. So, you know, if we've delivered a size that's not best suited for your home, you can certainly request a different size and we'll bring it out there. Beyond that time frame, you know, that 2-week allotment, then we do charge for exchanges.
Okay.
If I may also set the record straight, it's been called to my attention that I misquoted the value for Republic Services. Their third and final proposal was a cost of $17.25 per month per customer. In their second proposal, I believe it was $17.70, so it appears I've crossed those numbers.
I have some additional questions for Mr. Christensen. Regarding the number of your current customers, the 25,000 roughly residential and then your commercial, my concern with being maybe a younger company than Republic, could you talk a little bit about your fleet and how you would be able to cover all of your current customers and then adding us?
Absolutely. Great question. A little bit about us. We started about 3 years ago. We've had some tremendous success. Most recently, we've been awarded the Village of Sugar Grove contract, and we're in negotiations on that. We have 12 collection vehicles. That includes a significant amount of spares for each line of business, and we have placed an order for 2 brand-new trucks pending the award of this agreement.
So you've been awarded Sugar Groves, or you currently are doing Sugar Groves?
We don't begin until August 1st. We do have 4 other municipal contracts that we provide service for.
There was a phrase in the narrative in your proposal that said, I think it said all trash would be picked up on the same day. Do you mean every neighborhood or just the consistency of days per neighborhood?
Yeah, what I had meant there is that all types of waste, all waste streams would be collected on the same day. And what I meant by that is, you know, your recycling, your trash, and then the yard waste for each particular home would be serviced on a given day. Although we do intend to spread out the homes over a 5-day period.
Okay.
Thanks for asking that.
I have another question. How long have you been working with Sugar Grove?
We begin on August 1st.
Okay, so you haven't been there yet. Okay. Your other customers, do you offer that unlimited amounts of the trash? I'm looking for the wording here. Do you offer that same thing to your other customers?
Yes, we sure do.
Are you seeing any problem, I mean without the stickers? Because
Oh,
I
yeah, we
think
don't.
that's what we're focusing on.
Yeah, I mean, really, what we're seeing is the sticker program is really, with the exception of a few suburbs, subsiding. It's kind of an older collection method, in my opinion. It's ineffective, and it causes more hassle for the homeowner. We do unlimited collection for all waste streams in our other 4 contracts that we have.
So my question is, and this was something that the gentleman from Republic had brought up last time, if we don't have stickers and we have this unlimited ability, are you seeing people kind of do like a dump and run in these other areas?
Not that we've noticed,
Okay,
but, you know, that's something that we would certainly keep our eye on.
okay. Thank you.
You charge for senior pickup?
We do, yes.
You do?
Are your cans the same as Republic's with one color on the top being recycle, one the other?
Yes, yep.
Okay.
We do have a lime green lid.
To answer Trustee Heinz's question or comment, I'd like to see if we decide to go with DC Trash, that the senior rate or the village subsidize, and that way we can keep the senior program the way that it is, and so they have a subsidized program.
And along those lines, does anybody know the current rate for the senior bag? I apologize.
I believe it's $1.70 as is reflected in the first year of their contract, but their contract then extends 3% annually on that cost.
Currently today?
I believe it's $1.70 currently,
$1.70 and then $2 at the end of the 7 years.
unless they can opine differently. I believe it's $1.70. Yes, I'm getting on that.
Usually you gotta figure, Doug, my 92-year-old mother's on that, so that's $6.70. But she also books out at least one bag of leaves or grass cuttings each time. So that was at $2.90. So, right, so she has to pay, she has to buy a sticker, and I have to run over there and put it on there every time. And so it's $2.90 times 4. So now your price is getting up close to that $16. I thought you'd figure that out real quick, so I didn't have to.
I think there may be some confusion. The current sticker price is $2.90.
Right.
The new sticker price would be $1.50. Just, okay, just want to make sure we're clear.
The way the math works out, sorry. Dale turned me off. The way the math works out, if you're putting out a bag or two of the blue bags and waste, it's very similar to what you would be paying for this rate. So it doesn't
In
seem to
other
be-
words, what I'm saying is my mother, looking at the money she's spending now in her little budget, that she keeps very good track of, and then you put it on this one, and she ain't gonna notice a lot of difference, even though she has to pay. And I think there's 162 people on that program?
182 at least.
182, okay.
I similarly, pardon me, I similarly spoke to a couple of folks that use the senior program and was kind of feeling them out about it, and they said that they understood. It's a nice program, they like it, they enjoy it, but they understand.
Oh, there's times that she'll put out 4 to 6 bags too, you know, at $2.90, and she's been doing it all year. And then her comment was, well, if it's only gonna be cheaper, why didn't they give us that price earlier? You know, as I go, oh, Ma, this.
I'm sorry, I did a little bit of crunching of numbers this afternoon. And what I came up with, and again, if we're just not even going to talk about a sticker program with DC, that makes this easier. So I looked at the starting base rate and then the ending base rate after the 7 years for Republic, and then I added the stickers in at $4 per month. And obviously, that's going to be during the highest months when we have the yard waste. And then the senior program. And then there was also an item on there, if Republic did the billing, there was a price per quarter, so I factored that in. And then I compared what was being offered from DC in terms, if we look at the one where we don't have any stickers, and then there was an addition of street sweeping at a cost of $66 per month. So if you look at the range of these, there's actually a pretty significant difference in price. And then when you look at the services that are being offered, I do feel like DC is going to give us more service for a lower cost. So I'm looking at the first year, comparing year one of both companies. Republic is actually 32.9% higher, and by the time you get to year 7, they're 33.8. So it stays pretty consistent, the difference in the price. The other part of it, we have that there's a contractor fee of $1,000 that we pay each year to Republic, and DC is actually going to offer us event support in terms of the restrooms, the sinks, and things along those lines. And I had reached out to Todd today to ask him roughly what do we spend on those items for Montgomery Fest, and you had mentioned it was just under 3,500, and give me a rough estimate. So we would have a savings in our Montgomery Fest of about 3,500 going with DC. So I'm inclined to lean towards DC with the unlimited pickup, not the stickers. So that was my math.
One further clarification based on your comments. We are on the receiving end of the $1,000 contractor fee.
Oh, okay.
I'd
Thank you.
have to check with community development, who kind of manages contractor licensing, but that may be the subject for either service provider, so kind of a moot point, potentially.
Thank you. That was my mistake.
I have a question on leaf pickup. Under the DC proposal, it says village/bulk disposal through DC trash. So whatever, the village is actually going out, they're picking up the leaves. I'm assuming they're taking them back to Public Works, and then DC is coming in and they're removing those from the Public Works facility?
The historical arrangement with Republic Services has been just that, and I asked both contractors to provide that same solution going forward. So the village will continue its bulk leaf pickup collection in the fall. We bring that material to Public Works, we dump it into a transfer station that's approved by the IEPA, and then we load it into roll-off dumpsters or trailers, whichever the contractor can work easier with, and then they haul it off to the landfill, or the organic landfill, if you will.
And if I remember correctly, according to the IEPA, those leaves can only stay for a short period of time?
Our current transfer station permit is a very short window annually, yes.
Okay. I agree with Trustee Sperling on the DC trash proposal, with one caveat, that we continue to do the senior bag program and to be subsidized by the village. You know, that way we maintain what they're paying.
To clarify, DC Trash is not offering the program, but what you're talking about is subsidizing the cost.
Correct.
They'll get a rollaway container, they'll get the 35-yard rollaway, I would assume, and then,
We were unaware of a discount for the seniors, otherwise we could have put that in our proposal, and it seems like the number of those may be insignificant overall, 182, I think someone said. And we could certainly work with the village and staff to negotiate something that's a bit more affordable.
And it, generally speaking, the senior option now, as opposed to if we were go to DC, it's not a huge cost difference, although huge to me might be, my definition might be a little bit different from somebody else that's on the program. The other concern that we had the last time we approved a contract was folks just simply didn't want to have a can in their garage. They wanted the blue bag, and that's all they wanted. So there'll be a little bit of heartache with that. I think we can get through that. Having a lid on your trash in your garage is probably better from an odor standpoint anyway. But I think what it kind of boils down to is the, as presented, the DC trash proposal from a dollars and cents standpoint is definitely more cost effective. The hesitancy that I have is it's a younger company, newer company, the company that we have been with for a number of years. We know the program, we know what we're going to get, and since we added the containers with the lids, we've had much less concern from residents with regards to blowing trash and recycling and that. So I'm just framing the discussion, but that's what we have. Stay with the ones that we know, or go with the ones that are definitely, as far as this is, definitely cheaper, definitely more cost effective.
I would just like to mention it, because it sounds, I'm also a proponent of the DC trash. It's just too many dollars. Republic has done a great job over the years and has provided excellent service, but these are significant dollars, and I'm in sales and I get it. It's not that you guys have been taking advantage, it's just what the market will bear. So But I would like to see if we were to do this, that the village would make an agreement to purchase back the bags that seniors have purchased. Because some of them buy a roll at a time. Again, I think I talked to Jeff about this. We're not talking about significant dollars, but if we're going to eliminate the senior bag program, I don't feel that the residents that have purchased those bags in good faith should get stuck with them. We would purchase those back.
And
As
they
we
have
move
until
forward.
August to use them, too, if
Yeah.
we were to switch.
And I think price-wise, I don't think they need a blue bag program if they can, now the only one who'd probably be upset is a guy that never cuts his grass, never collects his leaves, and has no bags out there. But most of them are in older neighborhoods like on Harmony, and you got a ton of leaves blowing all over, so they put out a lot of bags at $2.90. So for them to get it only for $16.47, they're gonna be happier than heck. And when you mention the blue bags, like my neighbor who's 95, the raccoons in the old sections go crazy. So she puts a silver can out, and I drag it in afterwards, every, yard waste day, and I take it back up to her side of her garage because she can't put the blue bags out. The raccoons get in and just tear the thing all over the place. So really, she probably would love a little 95 or 35 gallon would work fine for her.
Okay. Yeah.
I would like to say I posted on Facebook, several different Facebook sites over the weekend asking people their opinion, which took some courage.
I was sweating for you.
There were literally
I
hundreds
saw.
of responses.
Thank you for doing that, by the way.
And one of the most common threads was compliments to the Republic workers, the collection personnel. And I really would like for that to get back to them because it's especially easy to gripe and be negative on social media, and that's not what I saw with regard to the work those folks have been doing. So please tell them for us.
Yeah, I think they've done a great job, but I think I made it very clear last meeting that waste bag has got to go, that first bag. And it's still $1.50, and the rest of them are still, and it just, to me, you start adding that up, and like Doug said, cost effective, it's just not there. It's not even close. And I was a big proposal of Republican Allied all these times, but this one isn't even close. Now, maybe it's just the market's changed. Do you guys take yours to the DeKalb dump?
Yeah, we direct all ours to the landfill.
Okay, and they probably take theirs, maybe Geneva, I don't know where they take it, but we should at least get them a chance to come up and
Yeah.
go through theirs.
The one question that I had for, either for Todd or for either company, the leaves that are currently, the leaves that are currently picked up, the leaves, where do those end up? In a landfill, in a organic landfill?
We take them to a compost site, one of
Okay.
two that we utilize.
Awesome.
Are they eventually recycled, or, because I know I'm in landscape construction, I work for a large landscaper, and we're looking for leaf mulch all the time.
Yeah, they make it into finished compost and then remarket that material.
Okay.
Yeah.
My other question was, you had mentioned you have the 4 other accounts that you have. Can you tell me who they are?
Yeah, we have the town of Cortland, Virgil Township, and the village of Waterman, and Sugar Grove, which we have yet to start, so.
Question,
Yep, go ahead.
bluntly. You're starting Sugar Grove in August. You would be starting here in August. Are you ready for that?
Yeah, if I could just speak a moment about my experience. One of the biggest hauling companies in the state, which is Republic Chicago Metro Yard, I was formerly the operation manager of, so I'm fairly well versed at running large yards. We had 130 trucks that left out of there every day. And my experience has been in larger sites and managing those, and we're certainly prepared for something like this.
And as far as being able to get these totes in time, because unlike Republic is at 6,000 totes, you're at 12,000 totes.
Yeah, what we've done is we've placed a tentative order for all the carts, and we've also placed a tentative order for the assembly and delivery to be handled by that company. So the moment they come in on the semis, then they'll start to assemble them and deliver them to each home.
Great.
How many, so Virgil Township, that's the only one that I don't have a figure on. How many households approximately is that?
It's fairly small, it's about
Okay.
500.
So that we're not used to being the largest of anything, really.
You
So, yeah, so we would be your largest, and I'm just saying what's on my mind, that I'm definitely a little bit uneasy about that because it's unknown. We don't know, there's some unknowns there, and we know what we have. So I'm really just voicing that for all of us to kind of think about. And trying to see in a crystal ball,
I would
Because
just,
once you make this decision and August rolls around, let's say we get into the Christmas season or whatnot, there really isn't an option to turn back, a quick option.
No, I would consult with our attorneys on an opt-out clause in either service provider's contract, but that would strictly be based on performance. If they fail to perform, my guess is that, something on the order of 90 days is appropriate. And likewise, they'd probably want the same from us if we fail to pay. So I think that's fair. And at that point, if they fail to perform, they are held accountable for their action.
Absolutely.
And if I could, you can also negotiate a performance bond into the contract in the case that something were to happen. That would be our recommendation from a legal standpoint, just as backup.
And I don't mean to doubt that you can be successful here and that you will be. It's just a matter of speaking about
We
that.
certainly wouldn't risk our reputation. We intend to continue to grow at a rate that's sustainable. And in order to do that, we certainly wouldn't want to do anything to tarnish our reputation for great service.
Yeah, just, if you screw up, you don't have a problem. The seven of us have a big problem.
Which I've learned in sporting is, now that we're the biggest of his, the biggest customer gets the best price and the best service, and the little guy, he's the one that gets kind of pushed to the side.
Nobody get pushed to the side. We'll take care of it.
Oh, okay.
When I'm looking at this and just doing some rough math to give perspective to this, for those that aren't looking at the numbers, it's about $250,000. It's $250,000 in year one savings, not including the $3,500 for the fest. So it's just too large of a number for us to ignore.
the other thing I was going to add, what you were saying, at our last meeting, when we had the gentleman from Republic talking to us, that was my main concern as well, that they're a known. We know they've done a great job for us, and to go with another company, and again, it's a newer company, it is a little nerve-wracking. But again, when I looked at the numbers and the services that are going to be provided, I think it's a fantastic opportunity for us. So I don't know what else to say about Republic other than they've done a great job.
I guess that would be a good segue if,
You're here though, right? You are DC, correct?
Yeah, I'm the owner of the company. Yep.
Okay. Just so we have a face.
Yeah, and just, also on that note, we talked about performance bonds, and those are a good protective measure, but, I will have a little over $1 million of my own money invested in the success of this contract, and I'll be sure that we do everything to keep everyone happy. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I would like to invite Republic come down and address the board.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. Tim Littner, Republic Services Municipal Marketing Manager. Just a couple of points of clarification, I guess, in regards to the yard waste program. We were looking at no stickers are required 2 weeks in April, when it's that heavy, rainy, you got to cut your grass almost every other week, as well as in the fall program. Talking to staff about the village-wide yard waste program. We thought if we would have no stickers for that month, mid-October to November, people might rake their leaves, bag them, and put them at the curb, lessening the burden for public works staff. We are paying the disposal going to the organic site, which we use one right here in Bristol, now that it's reopened. Safety is number one. I know I've been in a couple meetings with a few gentlemen in this room in regards to Christmas lights, taking lights off of a tree. We certainly addressed that and didn't hide behind that. I think we've been a good partner with the village, going above and beyond, not just the events that are contractual obligated, but some pond cleanups, some providing portable toilets for some neighborhood parties or chili fests, that type of thing. You know, we talk to staff. We've been going back and forth for quite some time with this proposal. We heard what they said about, okay, we might eliminate the senior bag, then it was brought back, let's introduce the senior bag. So we reintroduced that senior bag. We do have 4 individuals that live here in Montgomery that actually, 2 of them actually work on the routes themselves. Just a point of clarification. Again, I think our quality of service, the price factors are, you got to look at those for sure. Taking out those almost 2 months of the 8 months, 2 months of the 8 months of yard waste, it's not that big of a spread. And also in those summer months, July and August, we get a drought, nobody's cutting their grass, so not everybody's putting out yard waste on a weekly basis. So just a couple points of clarification. But certainly, we'll take back the comments. Thank you very much. I know that social media we've addressed that a number of times here in that one neighborhood, so definitely I appreciate those kind words. But any questions, feel free to answer them.
Thank you, Tim. Questions? I would say I was in meetings with you guys, when there was very specific and isolated issues. I can personally speak very highly of your reputation, standing behind any incident that did happen, and working towards a solution for those as well. I thought you guys were very professional, and the service that we're getting in Montgomery is excellent service right now. So I certainly do appreciate that as we deliberate on this, but I did want to send that along to you.
I appreciate that.
Your sentiments, well, like you said, we never had any problem with Republic, so as far as I'm concerned, you got the contract. That's my feelings.
Thank you, Pete. Any questions for Tim specifically? Okay. Thank you, sir.
One last question, Matt. Are we clear on this sticker for the old people? Did you say we could work something there for the 162 people, or?
Or
Okay.
some form of a senior
Some form of
senior
a deal
discount.
on it, so that it would be the same.
If I may, in fairness to Republic, they did provide that addition. At first, they wanted to kind of remove it. We brought it back to them and said, this is truly a priority for the village, and so they did add it again. Probably on me that DC didn't have that information. I did a lot of work with DC in a very short period of time to try and get this thing together, just so you'd have some options to choose from. And to kind of echo many of the comments, Republic has been delightful to work with. There are few complaints on a weekly basis. I did previously say we get a large volume of complaints during those spring and fall cleanups. I don't think those complaints are specific to Republic service. I think it's just the appearance and the scavengers that are scouting the neighborhoods is what frustrates our residents. So I just wanted to add, from a staff perspective, they have been nice to work with.
Plus, I've reminded my mother over and over, we are the only town that has a senior program that I know of that cheap. And I'm very happy that Republic had it all these years. Of course, that we negotiated it back then, too.
Well, and I will say, if there's 180 in it now, and we go with either contract as a new contract that we will be advertising, it's quite possible that that number goes up. I'm assuming that there are a decent number of folks that could qualify under that program that would want to utilize that savings. So let's see what we can do on that, but either way. So I noticed that it said you're asking for an actual approval of a contract tonight, which, as I think everybody understands, boards generally like to decide on one and then review it one last time. Is that an option where if we were to give you direction on which one of these we could vote on at the next meeting?
Well, that's really the intent. I think the vote could be administered at the time a contract is prepared, which may take us a few weeks with our attorneys. But time is of the essence in either contractor's ability to prepare, and the details of either proposal are unique enough that staff and village attorneys kind of need a final direction on which one to craft that towards. So I'm looking, I guess, for a firm direction in which contractor we're most interested in, and then a formal contract for your signature would come before you in the coming weeks.
Okay.
And this would give him the opportunity, either contract, to move forward with the ordering of the bins and kind of formalizing that process.
Beginning some of the communication blasts that they will send on our behalf. We can formalize some of our internal and external notices as well, but those are very specific to which proposal we select.
Okay.
Could
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Go ahead, Stan.
Could Trustee Sperling review her math one more time? Sure. Since you've done the homework.
She loves this.
Okay. The comparison of the cost for Republic, and this again would be the highest point where you have yard waste every week, because I did stickers times 4, plus the senior program, and plus Republic doing the billing, compared to DC with the unlimited waste in the landscaping collection, and that would also include the 66 cents per month to fund the street sweeping. So the difference in price in the first year is 32.9%, and by the time we reach the 7th year, it's 33.8% price difference. So it stays pretty consistent, about a third more.
I just want to clarify, though, DC is not doing the billing for us, so that's not an apples-to-apples comparison, correct? Republic,
No, it's not apples to apples. This is everything that was listed in this contract or this proposal of what could be in your monthly fee.
What could be.
So again, I took the highest amount with Republic and their stickers at the 4 times per month, so 1 per week. And that would be, at your highest time when you're, not your highest time, but when you're doing the most cleanup, when you're putting out the landscaping. Obviously, that's not going to be for 12 months.
Correct.
So I'm
4 months.
saying the highest amount Republic, the highest cost for Republic versus the highest cost for DC. There's the difference, is 32 to 33%.
And that was 200,000 or more?
Yeah, doing an apples-to-apples comparison, I came up at about 19.5% savings in year 1. Just doing the apples-to-apples. The Republic Unlimited, no sticker bag program compared to DC, so that it was apples-to-apples. I'm at about 19.5%, which is $250,000, plus the fest numbers, whatever those miscellaneous
About 3,500 annually.
costs are. And that did not factor into street sweeping.
And I really didn't speak much to the street sweeping. Staff had discussed it and didn't feel that the board would likely be supportive of that option, so I've kind of left that out of the details. But it is something that you may have seen in DC's literature and proposal for an additional 66 cents per customer per month, they would essentially administer our street sweeping program. Five sweeps annually, which is what we currently do through a general fund line item.
And what is that budget line item? It's about 50?
About $55,000 annually.
So when I did the math, and when I talked to Justin and Jeff earlier today, we could incorporate it, but we could opt to not pass the 66 cents per resident back to the residents. We could just pay it out of the general fund, and we would save, I think my math came up with that was about a $47,000 at 5,600 residents. I think that was the number you gave me roughly, was 5,600 residents. So it came up to be about $47,500, something like that. So we're saving additionally $250,000 plus 35 plus another 5, or actually, 7. So, what would you like, Mr.
Yeah,
President?
it appears as though we've given this very thorough review with our calculators, so, and many of us brought a separate one. So, I don't mean to make light of the decision. It certainly is a good decision and a big decision for us to make. So, it sounds like the board is supportive. I know Trustee Hines would like to stick with the current provider, correct?
Yep, I do. Don't fix it if it isn't broke.
Sure.
We've had good service. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
Keep what you got.
And I appreciate that angle on it as well. And it sounds like the majority of the rest of the board would like to see us move forward with DC. Is that accurate?
Correct.
Option 1.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all, yeah,
The no sticker.
right.
Right.
That's all we've really talked about tonight, and I would like to see the performance bond in there.
And another thing, you gotta think of all the senior people in town. They get it free, and they should get it free.
So it sounds like, and thank you, the clear direction would be to finalize a contract with, because we're not really voting on anything, finalize a contract with DC Trash per what we've discussed tonight, and then we'll bring it back for items for separate action for approval at our next meeting. Does that give you enough time?
It may not be our next meeting.
Yeah, it may not be the next meeting. I can certainly discuss it again if you liked. I anticipate having to work with Mickey Wilson's office to finalize a true contract. So I would bring it back as soon as that's complete.
At a future meeting?
Is it the board's intention to subsidize the senior program?
I think based on what we've heard tonight, Mr. Christensen's willing to evaluate that, and I can certainly speak to any advancements we are able to make in our negotiations, and then put the formal details in the contract, and I suppose you can go from there. Jeff, I'm looking at you, would a subsidy have to be decided prior, or could that be decided after?
Well, I think we would see what we can work out in the contract, bring it to the board, and if they don't feel that is everything they would want, I mean, then the board could decide they want to do something in addition. So that would be separate from the contract, if the board just wanted to put extra money towards subsidizing.
So that's something that we could discuss
Right, once you see
the
the,
next one.
yeah, once you see the
I
final
think
contract, then you can
subsidizing would
discuss.
be a real problem. I'd rather see them work it out with some kind of bag program like you do with, like I say, as far as I know, Republic never had a blue bag program for anybody either until we suggested it, basically. So I think we could do this here rather than subsidizing, trying to send people money or some off-the-wall thing. I mean, really at my age, I could go blue bag now because what kept me all the time was those stickers. But I don't want to, I'd still rather do it the other way. But I think you're right. You might have a couple hundred people now all of a sudden. But to turn around and subsidize somebody and send them checks and all that or off the water bill would be a mess, I would think.
Or it would just be a lower rate for the tote. Instead of getting a $16 bill, they might get a $12 bill.
Yeah.
I think they still get a bill regardless. It's not a bag program. Because I think the idea behind eliminating the bag program, and Republic was also interested in eliminating it, is the driver not having to get out of the truck. They
Right.
can pick up the totes automatically, less workman's comp issues, lower
I wouldn't
insurance
mind
rates.
having that 35-gallon tote that they can put it in for the raccoons, so it's not a,
Win-win.
yeah.
And they should be paying something for the potential yard waste, because it sounds like some of them are using that program as well.
All right. That sounds like clear direction.
Yes, sir. I appreciate your patience on this. It's been a lot of moving parts, and I know I've confused probably more than I've provided insight, but
No,
Thank you.
it was very helpful. And I'd like to thank both companies for coming this evening and for, our relationship in the past and relationships going forward. So, thank you. All right, with that, we'll move on to item C this evening on items for separate action. We have ordinance 1767, authorizing the issuance of $3.5 million in waterworks system revenue bonds. This is waiver of first and passage on the second. I suppose we will also be discussing at the same time item D, which is ordinance 1768, authorizing the issuance of $3.5 million in general obligation alternate bonds. Waiver of first, passage on the second. And I should apologize to the gentlemen that were sitting there before, because I started smiling at one point because my wife and the kids showed up. So they came to make sure that everything's in order tonight. So
Hi, guys.
with that, I'll turn it over to, who wants this one?
Justin does.
All right.
Thank you, President Brawley. The two ordinances in front of you by state law, because it is waterworks system revenue, we do have to pass revenue bonds first, which is ordinance 1767. And then in ordinance 1768, it says we're going to issue alternate revenue bonds in place of regular revenue bonds. The schedule on this, we do have to wait 30 days to issue these. We would have a hearing in about 40 days from now. Actually, no, not 40 days, I'm sorry. About 20 days from now. And then once that happens, we can issue the bonds. It is intended that the bonds would be sold in the latter part of May, early June, and then the closing on the bonds is actually at the end of June.
Okay.
If there's any questions, I can answer those at this time.
Questions of staff? Well,
Like a motion?
yeah, a motion for item C, ordinance 1767.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Discussion? Call the roll.
Trustee Marisak?
Yes.
Trustee Bond?
Yes.
Trustee Spurling?
Yes.
Trustee Lee?
Yes.
Trustee Heinz?
Yay.
And Trustee Youngerman.
Yes.
All right, that carries. We'll go right into ordinance 1768.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Trustee Marisak?
Yes.
Trustee Bond?
Yes.
Trustee Spurling?
Yes.
Trustee Lee?
Yes.
Trustee Heinz?
Yay.
And Trustee Youngerman.
Yes.
All right, certainly appreciate it. Thank you. All right, moving on, items for discussion. The TIF rebate process, and I would just tell Rosa and the kids that unless you want to learn a lot about TIF rebates, now would be a good time to head home to bed, so.
Can I say something on this? I would like to see us clear this up. It's been going on 3 years. Get him what he wants, get him the back pay, and get either a new contract or a new agreement.
Yeah, certainly. I think everybody in this room echoes that,
Okay,
including
thank
the
you.
fire district. So I certainly appreciate your words this evening, Chief.
So should we ask him if he's happy with the new agreement?
First, let's go over the summary, but I think that's a good point. Let's go over the ordinance. At the last meeting, we had a pretty in-depth discussion of the rebate process and what we were doing, and then kind of where the board really intended for this to go, or really wants us to go in the future. So with that, I'll turn it over to
I'll take it.
Jeff.
Can I say something real quick? Because I was absent at last meeting, I did watch the the meeting via YouTube. Just go through the changes for me, just to, as a refresher, please.
That's what I'm going to walk everybody through. So, so I tried to take what I got out of your discussion at the last meeting and put it into a draft resolution as you'd requested. So I'm going to list the things I put in there so you can see if you think that agrees with what you said. If not, please let me know what I need to change or what to do. So I have in there that the end of each year, staff will review the permits and prepare a recommendation on whether any parcels that have existing structures have redeveloped or expanded to a point where the TIF should begin keeping a portion of the increment. Staff will present that recommendation to the Joint Review Board at its annual meeting. Staff will then present that recommendation to the Village Board, and the Village Board would make the determination as to whether the TIF should keep a portion of the increment for those parcels, if any are recommended. So it would come to you for that decision.
Can I chime in? I mean, I don't want to
Yep,
interrupt.
no, go ahead.
In that section, there's nothing stating that the village board is going to be made aware of any issues that any taxing bodies
No,
have.
I did not
So-
specifically mention that. I mean, we would make note of it. I guess that would be part of the report. I just didn't list out everything we would detail in our report.
Okay.
But yes, we would certainly bring to you any comments from the JRB as part of,
Jeff,
as part of
I
that.
have a comment on this part.
Yes.
When, during our last meeting, when we were talking about this, I have in my notes that currently the building permits are reviewed and any change in EAV,
Correct.
but that's not listed in this resolution now, that we are using the EAV from the assessor. And I think that needs to be listed in
Okay.
there.
Is that implied, though? Because
I mean, we don't list
There's-
out every step of
it
the
just
process we
says-
take, but
Yeah.
if there's specific things you want in
It's only
there.
talking about building permits, but we are using building permits and any change in EAV to determine which properties we are keeping TIF money.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think it was, if they were issued a building permit, we'd give it a look.
Right,
Because even if the AV went down, I guess we would still look at it, and we might even,
right, we give it a look.
if
I mean.
it met
we-
that burden, we would pull it in.
We look at EAV as part of the building permit review to see. So, I mean, we can, I wasn't,
I'm just making note, I
Yeah.
had that in my notes, and I noticed that was not
yep, that's fine.
listed here.
Yeah, I didn't list out all the steps that we take just because it'd be lengthy, but I can certainly add that in. So
Okay, that's my suggestion. if
that's what we're here
whatever
for.
The rest of the folks want to do.
All right, so we can add a comment about that. So then I say, all right, we present it to the board, if the village does decide that we should begin keeping a portion of the increment, then I put down that the rebate of the previous background EAV would continue at, that level. And then I have in there increased by 3% a year. We talked about using different, whether it's CPI, manufacturing index, some metric out there. As I thought about it, to me, coming up with a flat percentage is probably more, I don't know. I think it helps, I feel it helps the districts. Tom can speak if he disagrees, because then they know what it is. Because depending on what metric we choose, it could be 5% one year, 0.5% the next year. It could fluctuate up and down quite a bit depending on. So I thought if we could just choose a flat percentage, I put 3% in there just to have a number in there, because you guys threw out numbers higher and lower than that in the discussion. But I feel like a flat percentage may be easier all the way around. It gives a little more certainty.
I would agree with having a flat percentage there. However, my concern is where do we get that number? And I had suggested during our last conversation of doing some type of average over this TIF area for a specific amount of time before we developed or implemented the TIF, because that's actually taking into account the actual parcels. Because I don't know, is 3% high, is it low? I don't know. So I struggle with, are we at the right percentage?
It's possible that and it's probably very likely that the EAV of that area has gone down many of the years since 2008.
Right, and I'm saying, do we do 10 years, do we do 15, do we do 23 years, the 23 years leading up to it?
Backwards.
Because now you have a boom time and then a time that, and it would even out. That's where I was going with that suggestion during the last conversation. Because again, I don't know if the 3% is fair. I don't know if it's high, if it's low for that. I guess
can
we
certainly
need to
look at-
figure out where we're going to get our percentage.
Yeah. We can certainly look at, I know I looked last year that industrial properties in Kane County went down, but they published that data. It's something we could share, maybe not put it in the ordinance, but at least have some justification. The 3%, it seems to be fair. I mean, we certainly want to be fair with it. Whether it's 3 or 4% isn't going to make or break the TIF.
Now, that data, can it be subdivided into, like, this is, what, I don't know what this is Aurora? This is Montgomery Township? I don't know, how does that?
Yeah, it's Aurora Township. Probably.
Does the data, does it scale down to that level, that we could look at this particular area, Aurora Township, and what the percentages look like for that?
Yeah, I don't recall. But if
I
you
don't know if
scaled it down to just the TIF area, then you'd be comparing it against itself, which would be, at any rate.
You couldn't use Aurora entirely because you get around the
Yeah.
88, those buildings are going for, they're putting them up as fast as you can.
I agree, though, and I've struggled with that, with what metrics to come up with, what percentage to come up with. I was throwing out 2 2.25. I don't know what that is, what that looks like. But again, I think maybe it is looking at over time.
Can you give me a real-life example, or a real-world example of what you just said before they got in discussion? I was going to ask my question earlier, now it's a lot harder because we got to go back. Where you said, if it's, say a building's $100,000, well, here, I'm not even going to throw numbers out. Give me a real-world example of the last statement that you read, where if the EAV is set at
Right,
a certain, what percentage are we capturing? Give me some numbers here. Give me an example on it.
So if the village, if staff has recommended and the village agrees that a property has expanded or redeveloped to a point where we should keep a portion of the AV, prior to that, we would have been rebating all the AV as the background. So whatever that last rebate was, we would freeze it at that level. The districts would continue to get that rebate, and then it would increase by whatever, annually by whatever figure we're talking about here.
And that goes to the TIF.
Right.
That goes back to the districts,
Yeah, it goes.
and then the TIF would keep the remainder.
So if that parcel generated $100, we would increase it by 3% the next year.
If we'd previously been rebating $100, and it would
it'd be
increase by
compounding
3%
every
compound.
So then it's 103, then 3% of the 103, blah, 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 blah. What is, and maybe you're going to get to this, what is the threshold of where a building permit is now substantial enough to
That varies. I mean, we will review, like I said, we review all the permits every year. And then we'll, look and see what work was done, what the value of that was, look at how the AV changed, and then we'll bring you a recommendation. I can't give you a hard and fast
Because
rule right here.
The board's making the decision.
Right. We're going to bring a recommendation to you, and then you'll review the information, and you'll make a decision. And then we'll implement whatever you decide.
I know the conversation we had, I don't know, 6 weeks ago or whatever, I brought up the example of a roof and say it was $100,000 for a roof. I would consider that building maintenance and not doesn't meet the threshold to be taken out, and that is considered maintenance in my.
Right, and that's why.
If it's a new building, obviously it is now the.
Yeah, new building's different. We're
That's
talking if there
different.
was an existing building. So, but that's why we would bring you the information, so you could look at it all, and then you guys would make the determination. So we're just going to bring you a recommendation. And we'll give you
You're
the
bringing it
backup.
to us after the joint
Right.
review.
Right.
So
So
that
we'll prepare a
we will get the
recommendation.
input from the taxing
We present it to the
districts as well.
JRB, then we bring you the recommendation with the backup plus any information from the JRB.
Okay.
And you guys review it all, and you make
And
the
I think
call.
part of that discussion last time, Steve, when you weren't here, was about just that. Denny said, you know, if United puts a new roof on, that might be $1 million. Or CenterPoint puts a roof on, that might be $1 million.
$2 million.
But it's $1 million that's maintenance.
Yeah, it's
Correct.
building maintenance.
I would still like to see my list of 27 buildings. I think I've asked for it 3 months, 6 months. I'd like a copy of it, just stuck in my box so I can know what buildings really we're talking about, okay?
I did go through and count the buildings. I know Tom mentioned 27. I went through with the map and pulled up. There are actually 30 buildings. There are some parcels that have 2 buildings on them, so that may be where the difference is coming in.
Okay.
But I can get you a map and a list.
If you could, just throw it in my box,
Yep.
fine.
Absolutely.
Maybe somebody else would like it too.
Yeah, can you board us for that?
Yeah, if we give
I
it
can
to, we'll give
do,
it to all of you.
I'll send it to everybody.
Thank you.
Continue, please.
So we'd increase it by some percentage. Like I said, I put 3% in there just to have a number, but we work on that. Then the last item I put in there was that if it was a vacant parcel that developed, that then the TIF, when it developed, then the TIF would retain all of the increment for that parcel, because that's was brought up. So
Because the undeveloped land is nothing, virtual.
it's very little.
Okay.
So that is what I got out of your discussion last time.
If I may,
You know, presenting it to you, so.
Trustee Sperling, back on the 3%, you had said you would like to do some sort of average? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying, let's look at the 23 years leading up to when we established the TIF and do an average.
That,
And what you mean, I want to
that
just
might
clarify.
be, I hate to, I don't want to cut it off, but I know that some of the PIN information has changed over the history, and that makes it really hard to get that data. And in the end, maybe maybe we could do some research to find out, have some
Something that's
reasoning
very
why 3% is more than fair. You know, whatever we decide on, we want it to be more than fair. We don't want it to be exact,
Right.
so.
Because I don't want to just pull a percentage out of the air. I'd like it to be based on something. And I think that would be applicable if we're looking at the same boundaries, similar boundaries.
Can it be based on the average EAV of the items or the buildings that haven't been pulled out?
I want to clarify, because again, I think, you're talking about coming up with some kind of an average to create that base number. And then that number will be the number,
Right. To have a
like,
flat percentage.
it's not 3%, it's 7.25, because
it's
that's
not-
the average.
it's not an
And it's going to be
average per year.
7.25 every year from here
Yeah.
forward. It's not
No,
changing
it's-
every year.
It's an average of whatever time period we say, and for whatever boundary of properties we say, however, we're going to be able to figure that out, if we decide to go that route.
But it would be one number.
One flat number, but we just take an average of how much the EAV increased over X number of years.
Okay.
Because, I mean, the other things that we've talked about aren't necessarily things that would apply to this. So I'm just trying to think of something that is more applicable and maybe more relevant to come up with a percentage.
It would be, it's good research to do. I think even then it would be debatable whether property either from this area or from a different county, you know, if you go into Kendall, you can't go that way. If you go up and include the 88 area, it's not apples to apples, but it would give us a
Right.
good idea of what industrial parcels should be expected to grow absent of a TIF. That's what
Right.
we're looking for.
We can research and give you some different things to look at, some averages.
Again,
and
because
things.
I want to make sure that we have a fair percentage there. And again, I don't know if 3 is fair, is it higher or low? I don't know.
It's a lot closer than the 2 I threw out there.
Well, yeah.
Because it was just a number.
Did you pull that out of the air, right? When you said 2?
Absolutely.
So I think we need to have a little more basis for the percentage we use, that's all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other thoughts, comments?
Yes, and I don't think Jeff is done yet, but
I don't think so.
I just want to question and clarify the timing of, because if someone if I'm doing construction now on my house, I pull a permit now, my taxes aren't going to go up now from when we pulled the permit. So I'm assuming you're reviewing last year's permits versus this year's taxes? Because really, my taxes are paid in arrears, so it wouldn't be until year 3. So you have to have a file on your desk? Is that correct? Am I correct? Okay.
So typically, because of the property tax calendar and because of people appealing their property taxes and so forth, the township assessors have to have that data into the county assessor by a particular date. And based upon about 10 years of history, that date is anywhere between July 15th and August 1st. So let's say you finish out that permit on July 1st. We're going to send that permit over to the assessor, and if there was something that would make it go up by a sizable sum, that would be on your property taxes for the next year. If you do something in September, you're talking like almost 18 months until you see an increase in the EAV for that. So it just depends upon when those are finalized out, that you would see those coming on the tax rolls.
Because I know the joint review board is when, January?
It's usually in December.
Okay, December. So again, I want to make sure that the joint review board would then not be seeing those right away? Because are you freezing it right now? Because you're really freezing it, we're doing a disservice to the taxing bodies because we're freezing it prior to the increase. So the tax rate is even lower.
So we can actually determine when the tax bills go out for this year. So in May and September, that is for fiscal year 18. So that we can determine what fiscal year 18 is right now. Tax bills for Kendall are a little bit behind, but from my understanding, Kane is going to go out fairly soon. So I can actually go through and look at those now.
Okay.
The only thing I don't know is if somebody does not pay all their taxes, then that TIF may not get, I don't know what the dollar, let's say it's $100,000, that TIF may only get $99,500 if somebody doesn't pay their tax bill. So that is the part so we get the final payment usually in November. And so that's when I can go through and say, all right, for sure, for certain, this is how much we got, and that's what starts
And you can say with 100% certainty that this permit was finalized out, and and the increase is reflective of that. This permit wasn't finalized out, so any increase is the background, right? Because it wasn't finalized out in time. We should be able to, they can determine that, and that's when this process would kick
If I
in.
could, that leaves about a month before we're required to have the JRB by the end of the year, so. And usually that runs through the Community Development Department, and I think Tom would agree that there's plenty of notice before that JRB that's coming up, and that's published to all the taxing bodies 6 weeks in advance as to when the JRB will be.
Okay.
President Brawley kind of touched on something I was going to ask. If there is a building permit that is not closed out, I mean, do we have any that are sitting out there that just haven't been closed out? Then what happens with the EAV? Does the assessor still look at that if there's an open building permit? How does that work?
Until it's closed out, that technically wouldn't go to the assessor's office.
So they won't necessarily change it based on that building permit if it's still sitting open?
Correct. Well, that's my understanding. Eventually, obviously, it catches up with the CO, the final CO of the building. But
We wouldn't be giving word to the assessor that this happened. So like if the Sugar Dome went up and he's driving by and he saw it, I guess he could reassess the property short of getting a building permit, but we wouldn't know. We don't know that. That's.
Okay. I didn't want to get too drilled down too much, but.
We're already
Yeah.
way, I mean, we're there.
But I'm thinking, well, if
ahead.
there's something sitting there open, then, I mean,
Right.
could somebody really
I
sit
mean,
on
just
something for like
the
years and
example
not
of
close it?
the example of the Sugar Dome project is that PRG built the building for the sugar company. It's incumbent upon them to get it so that it closes out, that building contract. So they're not going to delay getting that final permit. I mean, they've been pushing hard to get the last element, which I put in the weekly notes about the elevator inspection. That was the last element. That's been dragging because of a lot of reasons, but they want to close it out. So my point is, it's unusual that the contractor doesn't want to have a final CO or a closeout of a turnover, so to speak.
And nor do we want somebody operating on a temporary any longer. Yeah. Seems like a common sense approach to this, that really looking at this, and ultimately want to be fair to all of the taxing bodies, including, the village gets a portion of the rebates, which seems weird, but we have to. But the reality is we're trying to do something that's beneficial to everybody and not specifically not harm the fire district in the process, so. Any other questions or thoughts?
Go ahead.
Well, no, we stopped Jeff
No,
before he finished it, so.
No,
I
he
covered the
finished it.
things that I believe that I added based on your stuff. I mean, some of the language is already in there. And
All right, yeah, some of this language was already in there about the report, and the determination by village staff is final. That's regarding the dollar amount that's pulled, correct?
Right, I mean, that'll be part, the recommendation would be, here's the dollar amount that we would rebate based on this recommendation.
Based on this recommendation.
And you guys will make that determination.
Correct, and then as a board member, I have the right to disagree with that in writing.
Yeah,
Is
you
an
do.
email writing in today's day and age, or is it a letter? No, I just want to make sure, and again, I don't want to drill down too deep because we're almost to bedrock at this point, but
We can keep going.
you like that, Pete?
As long as we do it real quick too, instead of spreading this out by the time everybody, you know what I mean? I don't know how far along we are with paying the fire department right now or the other districts, but
we don't
with
pay.
this new resolution, it should be much quicker, I would hope.
Yeah.
If,
And the only delay right now is that we're currently talking about this, so we haven't sent that.
We've been waiting to see, because if we come up with something new, then we'll factor the new amount in and send that.
if I may,
You may.
I'd like to ask Tom a question.
You awake,
Are
Tom?
you, what,
And it's,
don't give me the 50-minute version. I've been through that.
I appreciate everybody narrowing it down this close.
Thank you.
Give me, if you can, like I asked you prior to the meeting, give me your list, give me your caveats, or your 3 or 4 items if you have any issues. That way we can begin to address it and solve this.
Okay, I'm a technical guy, so I read this very technically. So if you go to, not the whereas page, but the second page, I'm going to call it, where it says, now therefore be it resolved. So on the you got number 1, effective immediately, but under there it says, if the captured assessed taxable valuation tax increment derived from an increase in value of existing property that has not been improved and assessed since January 13, 2014, such tax increment actually collected thereby shall be returned to the county. All properties are assessed annually. So what that means is that this, if it's assessed annually, then there wouldn't be any rebate. And they're assessed annually. So every year after January, that was pointed out after the first agreement. So somebody could read this down the road, because I asked the tax assessor, he goes, well, guess what, we assess this every year, so everything would be pulled out of the TIF rebate.
Yeah, and that's,
So we got to.
that's certainly not the intent,
Well, I
but
mean,
yeah.
Laura, since it has the "and" in there, it has to be improved and assessed.
Is
So
that
just,
how-
so just being annually assessed wouldn't do it. It's improved and assessed.
And just being approved means,
Right, just
like we
being
were talking
approved
about,
wouldn't
that
do
it hadn't been.
It'd have to be both then. Is that
Right.
the way you interpret that? Okay. The percentage here, I just,
Okay with that right now, as long as it's improved and assessed?
yeah, I'll
Okay.
change my interpretation of that. As long as everybody's good with that.
Because if it was or, then it would give you
Then
the
it would
option of
be the
either or.
option.
Because
Okay.
it's and, it has to be both.
Okay. The other thing, we talk about percentage. I don't know what everybody thinks, but Justin has a nice spreadsheet here, and I don't know if anybody's ever seen that, but every year he runs the assessed value from year to year. So this particular assessed value goes from 2013 to 2015, and he actually has a column of percentages, whether it's increased, whether there's been 0%, or whether there's been a negative percent. So if you really wanted to know what each building or piece of property was doing in the TIF, he could average that column and come up with a percentage. Now, that would really tie it in to make good sense.
But you
I mean,
couldn't
'cause
use
we-
like the ones that have been developed, like the sugar property is going to go up 2 million %.
Yeah, if you average that, if you.
Yeah,
you
you'd
know.
have to take out the properties that we've talked about,
Even vacant
Justin,
land?
like the Sugar Dome and
much of the
Nexio.
percentage than developed.
Those wouldn't be calculated in
Vacant land
this
might go up to
because
15%.
that would already be
Vacant
out of the
land
TIF
4.
rebate.
You just do the
So you would-
27, 30 of them, right? You use the 27 or 30, and any new buildings you wouldn't use.
New buildings, you'd put them in a different section of your Excel spreadsheet.
So I think that's something that you guys can take a look at and report back to us. I don't
'Cause-
think that that's a bad idea to take a look at those increases.
Right.
But I would like to lock in the amount at a number, so that way that doesn't fluctuate for you every year, where you might have 0 or might go down, and then we're coming to you for,
But I think it's got to be fair.
true, absolutely.
there's
We
gotta
want it to be more than fair. I want to rebate more than,
I think we got to put a percentage in there that everybody can grab onto. And like, there's a couple of these that have only gone up 1.54%, 1.71, 0%, 1.63. So if we used a solid number of 4, then it would be more than what these have gone up.
and all we're trying to do is
That'll happen in
capture
some of the
inflation.
cases.
That would work in
essentially,
your
right?
favor instead of my favor.
No, that actually would be giving you back.
Yeah, you trying to
That
give
would
us
be
money
your-
back?
That'd be your favor. We'd be giving you back more.
Because we have like 16% increases in assessed value, 20% increases. And if we only got 3% of that on the improved, so that's just a number. That's just a number that you guys can kick around. The last paragraph on that page, it says that the determination of the village staff shall be final in determining the amounts due, subject to review by the village board. And I think the staff is going to provide you with a report. I agree with what Teresa says. The how-tos are really not in here yet. I think we need to put more how-tos in there, how we're going to get to these things. Because this, Jeff, if you remember one of our conversations where you told me, hey, the village staff, we're the final say, this is where that paragraph came from that you were reading on back in January. So this is real close.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think it's just the percentage, narrowing down the percentage and how that grabs onto.
So we're making progress here?
We're making good progress,
Good.
absolutely.
And I would
The JRB is a good point of where we're at. When you look at a number like 3%, say Butterball, and in one of these rebates, Butterball was held back. So you put on a 900 square foot addition to a 200,000 or 300,000 square foot building, and you hold 3% of the increment back, right? You give us 3% and you take 97%. That equates to like $30 for the fire department, $970 to the TIF for a 1,000 square foot addition to a 200,000 or 300,000 square foot building. So I think 3% might be a little.
3% is not what we're rebating. That's how much the background EAV would increase each year. 3% is not what we would be giving back. It'd be whatever you had previously been getting as background EAV is what you would continue to get, and that amount would be increased by whatever the percentage we come up
Right,
with.
so if we were getting $6,000 from there,
Right.
we would get
Get 6180 the next year.
$180.
Right.
Is that 3%?
So
Yep.
3% of $6,000 is $180. So it's not a lot of money in the grand scheme of things.
But you're
Or-
still getting, if the building was $200,000, they put the addition on, now the building's worth 300, you're still getting all of the background EAV, all of the EAV for the 200,000, plus 3% every year for the 23 years. You're only missing out on the additional EAV.
Yeah.
You're not missing out on the whole thing. You're getting the lion's share
You're
because
still
that
getting-
addition was small.
Right.
So it's not going to increase the value of the property much. So the TIF is actually only going to be capturing a small dollar amount, of which you're just getting 3% additional of the $200,000 original, whatever that amount was. You're getting all of that plus 3% every year.
You know, you'd have to look at some real life examples, like Trustee Youngerman said, because some of these some of these assessed values go up $20,000, $30,000, $19,000. United Facilities. So there's a lot of
But that
But
wasn't pulled, right?
If there were no improvements or
frozen.
anything to those, you get all of that.
For United Facilities.
right, absolutely. It'd be distributed amongst the taxing bodies.
Right.
Yep.
Yep.
So I think it's good to point this out at the JRB. I think it's, I know Justin says the roofs are falling in. The roofs aren't falling in, guys. All of the buildings in the TIF are occupied, working. If the roof falls in, we have annual fire inspections. We have a building inspector. We have a property maintenance code inspector. I mean, we're going to catch, I thank God that the roofs don't fall in and anybody gets hurt.
If I can, when
Sure.
I mentioned that, I said, as an example, if a roof fell in on a building, there would be a major
Well,
improvement to that building. I'm not saying that any of the buildings out there have a roof that's going to fall in.
No, I know, but if a roof falls into a building and the company, which is actively occupying that building, calls their insurance company, it's going to be repaired immediately. So it's not going to even, that's not their taxes are not going to increase because of that.
That's
They
what-
got to fix a roof, it's expected to have a roof.
That's
or
what
if there
we
was
talked
a
about.
catastrophic event. But I think if we were to, go up a little bit higher, 40,000 feet again, totally lost my train of thought right there, but, because I was imagining the roof falling in. The reality is that we're trying to rebate. Yeah, I totally lost what I was going to say, man.
That's okay.
We just give it to
We're on a
garbage
good track.
people.
We just
Garbage
gotta
people
figure
take
out
care of
this
it.
percent.
I really do want to chime in, though, because you said something, and it's imperative to me. We're supposed to fly at 30,000 feet, 40,000 feet. Matt's a little higher than the rest of us. And not worry about the day-to-day details. And Tom's mentioned that we don't have the how-tos in here, and that does concern me, because in my opinion, this document is very similar to what we thought was going to be happening. In my mind, this document mirrors what I thought we were supposed to be doing from the beginning. And we didn't have the how-tos in here, and it didn't happen. And now 3 years later, we're arguing and having meetings back and forth and bad feelings, and I'd like to see some of those details included in the document to make sure that we don't, as a board, have to micromanage it because it's included in the document. It's very clear, it's very crystal. It takes away some of the gray area because we don't want gray area. We want to do the right thing. And also, and Jeff and I have talked about this, Matt and I have talked about it, when we come up with this final resolution and we're done, we're going back retro to January 13th, 2014, and making you whole and all the taxing bodies whole on the monies that are affected by these changes that we're making, because that's the right thing. I think that's the intent of the board, is to do it that way. So I wanted to make that point. And again, I agree with that we need to put some of those details that normally we don't put in. We need to include them, because Justin gets it, Jeff gets it, because they've sat in here and they've heard us and they've been through this. But if something happens and staff changes, we need to make sure that that doesn't change.
Exactly.
So,
Or the board changes.
so we, Tom
That's
and
what
I.
got me to here.
And people have spent some time trying to nail down specifically what the how-to is, whether that's a dollar amount, whether that's a type of improvement. But the way that this is drafted up, unless I overlooked that, it was if a building permit is issued that meets a threshold, right, from staff's point of view. Yes, I think that it gives a lot of discretion to staff, but the difference between this I see and the other ones is staff would then draft up a report. This is why we're pulling this one, and here is our reason for pulling this one. And we will be recommending this to the board, presenting it upstairs to the JRB, and then to the board. So while I would much prefer a process where it was black or white, I didn't see that happening with the negotiations that we were working on. With the dollar amount, because even if you were to pick a dollar amount, then that's debatable on which ones. You could put in, a very expensive fence that would get to that dollar amount. So then it becomes back to that issue that we've been at before. So this way, all of it's gray. Staff comes up with a common sense approach, presented to the board, and every year we act on it.
Can we add that verbiage? Because that's the exact word I'm thinking, is it has to be a common sense approach. Was this improvement an improvement, or was this a maintenance?
And the way this is drafted up, then, this board would look at those specifically every year when we get the report from staff.
But future boards may not be as intelligent as the current village board.
Or more. They could be more. But yeah, that would,
I would like to see that, a common sense review of this, if these improvements were improvements or maintenance. Some kind of verbiage to give some direction, because right now there's no direction there at all. And again, not setting a dollar amount, not setting, it's an addition, they got new windows, they got a new roof, but a common sense, was this improvement an improvement to the property, or was it?
if I could go back in time, which I can't yet, I would go back and when we approve the TIF, don't do any of this and just say 5% increase of what that is, of that entire area for the life of the TIF as a rebate. So that way there is no issue, debate, EAV, this and that. You're seeing a cost of living increase to the properties that have been locked in the TIF for the life of the TIF.
Okay.
Which is common. I mean, that happens a lot with the TIF. That's exactly, once it's in the TIF, it's in the TIF, it's gone.
Yeah, usually there's no rebate at all, Doug,
Correct. And again, this board, and it was this board, sitting board, that really, because of your efforts, and, thank you for that headache I've had. But your efforts.
I'm not trying to be difficult. When something isn't calculated right or looked at right, I have to bring it to everybody's attention.
And I think, I would certainly convey to your board as well, that you've been advocating very well on behalf of the fire district and your residents. And so I don't blame you for that. I think that you're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing for the fire district. So we've been, to the extent that I've been involved in the board and staff, very responsive to your concerns, and we're trying to move in that right direction. So I think we're close. I think in the next couple of weeks or the next month, staff will have a revised resolution that they can distribute to us and the taxing bodies or put in the agenda, and we'll let you know that it's in there, and then we'll discuss it at a future meeting. Does that work?
Yep.
Or we can...
Get your comments from tonight, so we will work on making adjustments on that and getting the information that we talked about.
I'd just like to add that the media can use my last quote about this village board being more intelligent than future village boards.
I have to say that it's hard to see a roof falling in from 40,000 feet. That's just comes to me.
I want to thank the village board and Mayor Brawley for your understanding, and I appreciate all the work and effort you're putting through here to make this happen. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
All right, with that, we'll move on to new or unfinished. Anybody have anything?
No.
All right, hearing nothing.
I do.
Oh,
He's
hang on.
not playing tonight. He's like,
Sorry.
Nothing.
Can we get an update on hydrant flushing, please. Some residents are still expressing frustration with their water, with the chlorine smell, and I know that I had addressed it to some of them and told them that we were in the middle of hydrant flushing and that hydrant flushing should alleviate that problem, but I think we're about in the middle of hydrant flushing.
We're nearing the end, the scheduled completion of hydrant flushing at the end of this week. It's a 3-week program. The third and final week is always on the west side of town, where we had a number of chlorine complaints previously, and we had also communicated that flushing should help alleviate some of that. It was brought to my attention this evening, probably about 6:15, that there was some chatter on Facebook regarding a sewer metallic, maybe even blood type smell, not really a chlorine smell, which, you know, far different.
I think a lot of that conversation had to do with washing machines, quite
Well,
honestly.
and the thing I find most challenging is, you know, in reading through that post and multiple comments, probably that amounted to a couple of pages worth of comments, I did check, and as of 6:40 p.m. this evening, Public Works and the water utility had not received one single complaint related to that Facebook chatter. So it's back to the point that sometimes things that happen on social media aren't always completely accurate. We are flushing. If there's a metallic odor, it could be because the iron in the water, which is being, you know, dislodged and flushed, the whole intent of our flushing. I would say if there's a specific complaint, please do call us. We'll be happy to evaluate it. If it's not something that you're alarmed by, then, you know, maybe wait a week and see what the flushing can provide.
Okay, thank you.
It has gotten better at our house. I mentioned previously to you
Did you
that
smell that as well, or you're referring to
they
the chlorine?
just flushed our hydrant today. My daughter was excited because, you know, Public Works are superstars at our house. She was very excited because they were flushing the hydrant by our house today. So I haven't really used the water since they flushed. So, but the smell has gotten better in our house.
I've never noticed it.
Thank you.
It's better at ours.
I would also add that, you know, we did conduct that open house meeting to discuss some of the concerns related to the chlorine smell in the water. Since that meeting, we have visited a few homes at homeowners' requests and done some additional testing. Everything is well within the spec. Actually, Engineer Wallers can probably add to this, but the Illinois Department of Public Health is looking at increasing the required chlorine residual for agencies. We currently would fall just within that new requirement that's being discussed, but still, even the current requirement, we're well within the tolerances allowed by the IEPA and Department of Public Health.
Thank you. Anything else? All right. Moving on, we have, I guess I should mention that I did receive a letter today from a resident that is expressing her displeasure with not being allowed farm animals in Montgomery. How old is Sammy now?
13.
All right. So I will be addressing this. So I thank you for bringing that to my
I
attention.
may or may not have thrown the mayor under the bus because my daughter wants a pig, and I told her that the mayor won't allow farm animals in town. And she swore she was going to ride her bike to the meeting if I didn't give him this letter. So he now has said letter. He can respond accordingly.
Awesome. Thank you. She drew a picture of a pig, too. With that, we do have Plan Commission meeting on Thursday, May 4th. We will have a vacancy on Plan Commission, so we'll be sending out a press release looking for applicants. So if you know any qualified applicants, have them submit their resume to fill that vacancy. And we have Village Board meeting on May 8th, and I believe we'll be swearing in that evening.
May 8th is inauguration or the swearing in? Okay.
And then Committee of the Whole meeting on the 16th will very likely be canceled. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Yes.
Trustee Heinz.
Say yes.
Okay. Trustee Youngerman.
Yes.
Trustee Marisak.
Yes.
Trustee Bond?
Yes.
Trustee Spurling? Yes. And Trustee Lee?
Yes.
And we're adjourned. Thank you.